Have you ever stopped to wonder why some people seem to rise above every challenge, while others, with the same dreams, stay stuck in the same place year after year? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not even opportunity. The real difference lies in something far more ordinary yet far more powerful: the habits that shape their lives. Every single day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you close your eyes, you are building patterns that either push you forward or quietly hold you back. And the truth is, most people don't even realize it's happening. Think about it. The way you spend your mornings, the words you repeat to yourself, the foods you choose to eat, the way you react under pressure. These small, seemingly harmless decisions are not random. They are habits. They are invisible scripts running in the background of your life, pulling the strings of your future. If your habits are weak, your results will always be fragile. If your habits are strong, your success becomes inevitable. You are not just living a life, you are programming one. This is why success is not built in grand moments of inspiration, but in the quiet repetition of small actions done consistently. Habits are the architects of destiny. They create the invisible structure on which your future stands. You don't need to guess what your life will look like in 5 years. Just look at the habits you practice today. Are they lifting you up, or are they quietly pulling you down? The answer will predict your future with frightening accuracy. Most people chase results while ignoring the patterns that produce them. They dream of wealth but live with habits of distraction. They desire health but cling to habits of comfort. They pray for confidence but feed habits of doubt. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But life is brutally honest. It always reflects your habits. No matter how big your dreams are, if your daily actions contradict them, those dreams remain nothing more than fantasies. But here's the power in this truth. If habits can hold you back, they can also set you free. Habits can keep you chained to mediocrity. They can also unlock the gates to greatness. This is why you should lean in and listen closely, because by mastering your habits, you gain control over the very foundation of your success. Every shift, no matter how small, begins to ripple outward. A single positive habit can reshape your health, your mindset, your relationships, and your entire future. When you understand this, life no longer feels random. You stop relying on luck or waiting for the right moment. You start creating the right conditions through repetition, through consistency, through habits designed for growth. And the reward is profound. Imagine the relief of knowing your life is not dependent on fleeting motivation. Imagine the confidence of knowing your future is not left to chance. Imagine the power of building habits so aligned with your goals that success becomes your default setting. This is you must stay with me until the very end. Because what you are about to discover is not just information, it is transformation. If you want to break free from cycles that keep repeating, if you want to rise above the patterns that have kept you small, then pay attention. The lessons ahead are not theories. They are life-changing truths backed by psychology, proven by experience, and ready to unlock the version of you that has been waiting for too long. Your habits are writing your future. The question is, are you ready to take the pen back into your hands? You already know habits shape your destiny, but here's the challenge most people face. They try to rely on willpower alone. They think discipline means pushing harder, forcing themselves to act, and fighting against temptation with sheer determination. But willpower is fragile. It drains like a battery. The more you rely on it, the faster it dies out, leaving you exhausted, frustrated, and defeated. That's why so many people start strong on Monday and collapse by Friday. They believe they failed when in truth they were leaning on the weakest tool available. Science shows that willpower is limited. Every choice you make, every decision you face, chips away at your mental energy. By the end of the day, even the strongest minds crumble under the weight of decision fatigue. That's why people who swear they'll eat healthy in the morning end up reaching for junk food at night. It's not because they're weak. It's because they're human. Motivation and willpower were never designed to carry the full load of transformation. This is why habits matter even more. When an action becomes automatic, it no longer drains your energy. You don't need to force yourself to brush your teeth every morning. You just do it. Imagine if your most powerful success-driven behaviors felt that natural. Imagine waking up and moving straight into growth rituals without debate. Imagine choosing nourishing food, focused work, or daily learning, not through struggle, but because your brain has rewired those actions into your identity. That is the freedom habits bring. Willpower is like striking a match. It burns bright, but it burns out fast. Habits are like the sun. They rise every day, steady and unstoppable, lighting your path without effort. When you build the right habits, you stop living in cycles of starting and quitting. You break free from the emotional roller coaster of motivation spikes followed by crushing disappointment. Instead, you step into consistency, the greatest force behind any lasting success. Think about it. The most successful people are not the ones who feel motivated every day. They are the ones who have built systems so solid that action happens even on the hardest days. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They've built habits that answer the question for them. This is why you cannot gamble your future on willpower alone. It will abandon you when you need it most. Systems and habits will not. The reward for mastering this shift is peace. No more endless battles inside your mind. No more starting over every week. No more guilt over broken promises to yourself. Instead, you create stability, momentum, and trust in your own ability to follow through. You stop feeling like a victim of your moods, and you begin to feel like the architect of your destiny. If you want freedom, you must stop chasing short bursts of effort and start building automatic pathways of success. That is how you rise above the noise. That is how you break the cycle of failure. That is how you create a life where success is no longer something you chase, it's something you live. There is a deeper truth about habits that most people overlook. The strongest habits are not built around what you do, but around who you believe you are. Action follows identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, your habits will reflect struggle. If you see yourself as someone disciplined, your actions will align with discipline. This is why people fail when they try to force new habits without reshaping the identity behind them. They keep telling themselves, I'm trying to be healthy, or I'm trying to be focused. But every time you say trying, you're admitting that identity hasn't changed. The real transformation begins when you stop trying and start becoming. Your brain seeks alignment between belief and behavior. If you identify as someone who always procrastinates, no amount of temporary effort will stick, because deep inside you are still voting for the old version of yourself. But when you shift your identity, even slightly, everything changes. The person who decides I'm someone who honors my commitments will naturally follow through, even when it feels hard. Every habit you practice is a vote cast for the type of person you believe yourself to be. The more votes you cast, the stronger your identity becomes. This is why change feels difficult at first. Your old identity resists the new one, but with every small act of discipline, every repeated habit, every consistent choice, you are carving a new belief system into your subconscious. You are proving to yourself that you are no longer who you used to be. And that proof builds momentum more powerful than motivation could ever give you. Think of the difference between saying, I want to quit smoking and I don't smoke. One is a desire, the other is an identity. One leaves room for struggle, the other closes the door. Your words matter. Your self-image matters because your identity dictates what feels natural, and habits stick only when they feel natural. This is where real strength is built, not in fighting against who you are, but in deciding who you are. You are not lazy. You are learning to become disciplined. You are not unfocused. You are building the identity of someone who protects their attention. You are not broken. You are in the process of becoming whole. Every action you take is proof. Every repetition is evidence. Every habit is a brick placed into the foundation of the person you choose to be. The reward for living this way is transformation that lasts. You stop fighting endless battles with yourself because the habits you build no longer feel foreign. They belong to you. They are part of your nature. And as your identity strengthens, your habits require less force and more flow. This is how true freedom is created, when success becomes a reflection of who you are, not just what you occasionally try to do. The question you must ask yourself now is simple but powerful. Who are you becoming through your habits? Because the answer to that question will determine not just your results, but the entire direction of your life. Once you begin to align your habits with your identity, there is another layer of power waiting for you. Some habits carry more weight than others. They are called keystone habits, and they act like levers that move multiple areas of your life at once. Not every action is equal. Some choices ripple outward, creating positive momentum that touches your health, your confidence, your relationships, and even your financial stability. These habits don't just add to your life, they multiply it. Think of what happens when you commit to daily exercise. You don't just get stronger physically. Your energy rises, your focus sharpens, your stress lowers, your confidence grows, and suddenly you start making better decisions in other areas too. One action unlocks a chain reaction of growth. That is the hidden power of keystone habits. They create a domino effect of transformation. When you choose one powerful habit, you aren't just changing one piece of your life. You're shifting the foundation. You're setting off a ripple that touches everything else. And the truth is, most people overlook this. They chase random actions, trying to improve 100 different things at once, and then they burn out. But if you focus on one keystone habit and master it, your entire life begins to reorganize itself around that strength. Success becomes simpler because you've anchored it in the right place. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. A single keystone habit, repeated daily, can outshine 100 scattered efforts. Reading for 10 minutes each morning can rewire your mindset. Writing your goals can realign your decisions. Practicing gratitude can shift your emotions from scarcity to abundance. These may look small on the surface, but they carry explosive impact beneath it. They are not just habits, they are catalysts. The mistake people make is waiting for the perfect habit or the perfect plan. But transformation is not about perfection. It's about finding the one shift that carries the greatest return and making it non-negotiable. Once that habit is in place, others fall into line naturally. It's like pulling a thread that unravels an entire knot. What once felt overwhelming becomes clear. What once felt impossible begins to flow. Your life does not need a complete overhaul in a single day. It needs a single point of leverage. Find the habit that unlocks the doors to growth and make it sacred. Guard it with discipline, nurture it with patience, and allow it to reshape you from the inside out. The reward is momentum that no obstacle can stop, because it isn't built on scattered effort. It's built on compounding power. Every great transformation begins with one keystone habit, one anchor, one consistent action that shifts everything else. The question is not whether you can do it. You can. The real question is whether you are willing to commit to it until it becomes a part of who you are. Because once you do, your life will never look the same again. No matter how strong your intentions are, your environment will always shape your habits more than your willpower. You may want to change, you may feel inspired, but if your surroundings constantly pull you back into old patterns, you will keep slipping into the same cycles. The truth is simple. Your environment either supports your growth or sabotages it. Most people underestimate how powerful this influence really is. They blame themselves for failure, when the real problem is that they are trying to rise in an environment designed to keep them small. Your brain is wired to respond to cues around you. A phone buzzing on the desk doesn't just sit there, it calls for your attention. Unhealthy food within reach doesn't just exist, it tempts you until you give in. A cluttered space doesn't just look messy, it drains your focus and makes procrastination easier. On the other hand, a clean, organized, and intentional environment pushes you toward clarity, discipline, and productivity without you even realizing it. The path of least resistance always wins, and your environment decides what that path looks like. This is why changing your environment is one of the fastest ways to change your life. When you remove friction from the habits you want to build and add friction to the habits you want to break, success becomes almost automatic. If you want to read more, place a book on your pillow. If you want to eat better, keep nourishing foods within easy reach and remove the junk from your sight. If you want to stay focused, create a workspace that eliminates distractions. These small adjustments send powerful signals to your brain. This is who I am, and this is what I do. People often think they need more discipline, but what they really need is a smarter environment. A strong system will always outperform sheer effort. You don't have to fight yourself every day when your surroundings are already guiding you toward the right choices. Imagine walking into a space that inspires growth instead of pulling you into old habits. Imagine being surrounded by cues that remind you of who you want to become, not who you used to be. That is the power of designing your environment with intention. Your surroundings also include the people you let into your life. Energy is contagious. Spend time with those who normalize excellence, and your standards rise. Spend time with those who normalize excuses, and your standards drop. The people around you act as mirrors, reflecting back the habits and behaviors you allow. If you want to grow, align yourself with people who challenge you to rise higher, not those who drag you back down. The reward of this shift is that discipline no longer feels like a daily battle. Growth begins to feel natural. Success becomes the default. You stop relying on force and start relying on flow because the world around you is quietly carrying you forward instead of holding you back. If you want to transform your habits, start with your environment. Shape it so clearly that the choices you desire become the easiest ones to make. Because when your environment changes, your behavior follows. And when your behavior follows, your destiny changes with it. When you shape your environment to support you, every small action you take begins to carry more weight than you realize. What feels insignificant in the moment compounds over time into something extraordinary. Success is not built in sudden explosions of effort. It is built in the quiet repetition of tiny victories that accumulate until they transform you completely. The world rewards consistency more than intensity. And this is where the compounding power of small wins becomes unstoppable. Most people dismiss small actions because they crave immediate results. They look at the gym session that burns only a few calories and think it doesn't matter. They read a few pages of a book and believe it won't change their mind. They save a small amount of money and feel it's too little to make a difference. But the truth is that nothing is wasted. Every repetition is a deposit into your future. Every small win adds to a growing balance that will one day overflow into visible success. This is the mathematics of growth. 1% better each day compounds into massive transformation over time. A small win repeated becomes a chain, and that chain becomes unbreakable. What begins as an action becomes a pattern, and what becomes a pattern defines your life. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You don't need to conquer everything at once. You just need to win today in small ways and repeat it tomorrow. The momentum will take care of the rest. The danger comes when you underestimate these moments. Neglecting small wins is just as powerful as creating them, only in the opposite direction. Skipping one workout, ignoring one opportunity to learn, letting one negative habit slip in may feel harmless, but repeated over weeks and months, it compounds into decline. Life compounds in both directions, toward growth or toward decay. Every choice is a seed, and every seed grows into something. You are planting your future with every decision, whether you realize it or not. When you embrace this truth, the pressure to be perfect disappears. You don't need massive leaps. You need steady steps. You don't need endless bursts of willpower. You need daily commitment to small, consistent actions. The reward is confidence, because with every small win, you prove to yourself that you can follow through. And that proof builds belief. And belief builds momentum. Imagine the difference between someone who gives 1% more each day and someone who gives 1% less. In the short term, you barely notice. But in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, the gap is enormous. One life is built on growth, the other on erosion. Both outcomes come not from one dramatic choice, but from thousands of small ones repeated over time. This is why you must take your small wins seriously. They are the invisible fuel of greatness. Celebrate them, guard them, stack them one on top of another until they become unstoppable momentum. Your future self is being built right now, not by what you dream about, but by the choices you repeat daily. The compounding effect is always at work. The only question is whether it's compounding for you or against you. The same compounding force that builds greatness can also chain you to habits that destroy your potential. Bad habits grow quietly, feeding on repetition until they harden into patterns that feel unshakable. At first, they seem harmless. One distraction, one excuse, one indulgence doesn't look like much. But repeated daily, they carve grooves in your mind and body that become automatic. Before long, you find yourself living a life you never consciously chose, trapped by routines that drain your energy, your confidence, and your vision. Breaking these chains is not easy, but it is always possible. The human brain is built to change. Neuroplasticity means that the pathways carved by bad habits can be weakened and replaced by stronger ones. The key is not to fight against the habit with sheer resistance, but to redirect it. Every bad habit exists because it offers some kind of reward, comfort, distraction, or relief. The secret to breaking it is to replace that habit with another that delivers reward without destruction. Suppression alone rarely works. Substitution creates freedom. If you scroll endlessly on your phone because you crave escape, the solution is not just to stop scrolling, but to give your mind a healthier escape. Reading, learning, movement, or deep reflection. If you reach for unhealthy food when stressed, the solution is not starvation, but finding rituals that release stress while nourishing your body. When you replace rather than resist, you begin to dismantle the old loop and build a new one in its place. The old pattern weakens, the new one strengthens. This process demands awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to notice. Begin by shining a light on the habits that sabotage you. Ask yourself what triggers them, what rewards they give you, and what they cost you. Then make the conscious choice to disrupt the loop. Even a small disruption matters. Each time you interrupt the cycle, you weaken it. Each time you replace it with a better action, you strengthen your future. The greatest lie bad habits whisper is that you are powerless to change. That because you failed before, you'll always fail again. But this is false. Your brain and body are designed to adapt. The chains are strong only if you stop trying to break them. Every act of resistance, every small substitution, every conscious choice is a crack in the wall. Enough cracks and the wall falls. Enough replacements and the habit that once controlled you becomes nothing more than a memory. The reward for breaking bad habits is liberation. You reclaim energy that was leaking away. You rebuild trust in yourself. You create space for new habits that elevate your life instead of eroding it. You begin to feel in control again, no longer dragged by invisible forces, but guided by conscious choice. That freedom is priceless. It restores your confidence, your discipline, and your belief in what's possible. No habit is destiny. No pattern is unbreakable. You are not your past routines. You are the architect of your future ones. And the moment you decide to replace what holds you down with what lifts you up, you begin to transform not just your actions, but your entire identity. The fastest way to take control of your life is to take control of your mornings. The first actions you take when you wake are not just routines. They are signals to your brain about who you are and how the day will unfold. If you begin with distraction, the rest of the day bends toward chaos. If you begin with clarity, focus, and intention, the day bends toward power. Mornings are the foundation, and the strength of any structure depends on its foundation. Your mind is most impressionable when you first wake up. The neural pathways are fresh, the noise of the world is not yet invaded, and you hold a window of opportunity to direct your energy. What you do in that window shapes not just the next few hours, but the tone of your entire day. A morning routine is not about rigid rituals. It is about aligning your first moments with your highest priorities. When you own your morning, you own your life. This is why successful people guard their mornings with discipline. They know that starting the day with social media, news, or distractions hands their power to the outside world. They choose instead to begin with habits that build strength from the inside out. Clarity, gratitude, movement, reflection, learning. These are not random actions, they are anchors. They remind the mind of who you are and what you are here to create. When you practice intentional habits in the morning, you eliminate the need to fight through the day. You already begin aligned with purpose. You already begin centered, clear, and unshakable. You don't wait for motivation to appear. You create it through ritual. The world will always bring chaos, but if you establish power in the first hour, you meet that chaos with strength instead of weakness. Even the smallest morning actions carry weight. Writing down your goals for the day directs your focus. Practicing gratitude reframes your mindset. Moving your body unlocks energy that spills into your work. Feeding your mind with wisdom or reflection strengthens your resilience. None of these take hours, but each has compounding power when repeated consistently. Together, they become the armor you wear into the day. The reward of mastering your mornings is not just productivity, it is confidence. You stop waking up reactive, scrambling, and already behind. You rise with clarity, direction, and control. You begin to trust yourself because the first thing you do each day is proof that you are aligned with your future. That proof builds momentum, and that momentum carries into every action you take afterward. You want to transform your habits, start where the day begins. Take the first hour seriously, guard it with intensity, shape it with intention. Because the way you begin sets the standard for everything that follows. And when you elevate your mornings, you elevate your entire life. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. And nowhere does that bridge matter more than in the small daily decisions you make. The world convinces you to wait for motivation, but motivation is fleeting, unreliable, and shallow. Discipline is steady, powerful, and transformative. It is the act of following through on what you said you would do, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It is the muscle that grows every time you choose alignment with your higher self instead of indulgence in your weaker impulses. When you begin to see discipline not as restriction, but as freedom, everything shifts. The truth is that indiscipline costs more than discipline ever will. Indiscipline drains your energy, scatters your focus, and steals your potential. Every time you give in to distraction, you train your mind to obey weakness. Every time you honor your commitments, no matter how small, you train your mind to obey strength. The compounding effect of these choices builds character, and character is destiny. There will always be resistance. There will always be a voice whispering that you can skip today, that you can start tomorrow, that no one will notice if you cut corners. But that voice is the enemy of your future. Every time you silence it and push forward, you declare to yourself that you are not controlled by comfort, that you are not a slave to impulse, that you have chosen the harder path because you are worthy of the life that path creates. The temporary sting of discipline is nothing compared to the permanent pain of regret. To discipline your mind is to free yourself from the tyranny of distraction. A scattered mind cannot create greatness. A distracted mind cannot achieve clarity. When you train your focus, you are sharpening the very tool that carves out your reality. Each time you resist the urge to drift, you strengthen your capacity to remain present, to remain locked in, to remain unshaken. Greatness is not built in bursts of intensity, but in the quiet, consistent practice of focus repeated day after day. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about alignment. It is the daily act of choosing to act in harmony with your vision, even when every fiber of you would rather choose ease. It is the practice of honoring your future self more than your present comfort. Every disciplined choice is a vote cast for the person you are becoming. And the more votes you cast, the stronger that identity becomes until it is no longer something you force, but something you are. What begins as effort transforms into identity. At first, discipline feels heavy, demanding, even unnatural, but with repetition, it becomes who you are. You no longer have to convince yourself to rise early, to train, to focus, to execute. It becomes automatic because you have reprogrammed the foundation of your being. And when that shift happens, discipline is no longer effort, it is liberation. You no longer ask, will I? You simply act because it is part of you. Discipline is the silent architect of freedom. It removes chaos, builds consistency, and creates stability. It gives you control over yourself when the world tries to control you. And when you master it, you become untouchable because nothing outside of you is stronger than what lives within you. The strength you are searching for is not found in bursts of excitement or temporary inspiration. It is forged in the quiet hours when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, and when no one is rewarding you for showing up. True mastery is not about what you do occasionally, but about what you do relentlessly. The world is filled with people who start strong but fade when it gets difficult. The difference between those who merely dream and those who actually rise is the ability to remain consistent long after the mood has faded. When you commit to consistency, you are training yourself to rise above the fragile nature of feelings. Feelings are temporary, but commitment is permanent. Feelings fluctuate, but consistency builds momentum that no emotion can break. Every time you honor your word, you stack another brick in the foundation of your future. That foundation becomes unshakable. And with it, you gain the power to move through storms without crumbling, to endure hardship without losing direction, and to keep building even when progress seems invisible. Most people quit not because they are weak, but because they confuse slow growth with no growth. They fail to realize that the small actions, repeated consistently, are quietly reshaping their identity. They want dramatic results overnight, but transformation is not sudden. It is gradual, steady, and unstoppable when fueled by consistency. Each day you keep going, you are becoming more disciplined, more focused, more resilient, even if you don't see it immediately. Just as water carves stone not by force but by persistence, your consistency is shaping you into someone unrecognizable to your past self. The power of consistency lies in the fact that it multiplies over time. One disciplined action may feel small, almost insignificant, but compounded across weeks, months, and years. It rewires your mind and rebuilds your life. This is why those who endure eventually separate from the rest. They understand that greatness is not about doing extraordinary things once, but about doing ordinary things with extraordinary commitment until the results become extraordinary. Consistency also builds trust with yourself, and this is one of the most powerful forms of confidence you will ever experience. When you prove to yourself that you follow through, you eliminate doubt and hesitation. You no longer question whether you can because you have built evidence that you will. That trust transforms into inner certainty, and inner certainty is what makes you unstoppable. People can doubt you, circumstances can challenge you, but when you no longer doubt yourself, you cannot be broken. There will be days when consistency feels heavy, when progress feels invisible, and when the temptation to drift back into comfort grows loud. Those are the defining moments that separate the discipline from the distracted. Every time you choose to keep going, when it would be easier to quit, you solidify strength that nothing can take from you. The rewards may not appear immediately, but they are building silently, waiting for the moment they will reveal themselves in ways far greater than you imagine. Your future belongs to your consistency. Every single choice you make is casting a vote for the life you are building. And if you refuse to give up, if you refuse to break your rhythm, if you refuse to let short-term feelings dictate long-term vision, then the life you desire will not just be possible, it will be inevitable. Discipline is the silent force that holds your entire life together. Without it, goals remain dreams, potential remains wasted, and time slips away unnoticed. With it, even the most impossible vision becomes achievable. Discipline is not punishment. It is the purest form of self-respect. It is the decision to treat your future as worthy of sacrifice, worthy of effort, worthy of control. When you embrace discipline, you stop being a prisoner of your impulses and become the master of your destiny. The undisciplined mind seeks comfort, distraction, and immediate gratification. It gives in to excuses, it bends under pressure, and negotiates with weakness. But discipline builds an entirely different reality. Discipline teaches you that the greatest freedom comes from control, the freedom to wake up and know you can trust yourself, the freedom to face challenges without fear, the freedom to stand tall in a world full of people who constantly break their own promises. Discipline is not chains. It is liberation. Every moment of discipline you choose becomes a signal to your subconscious that you are serious about your life. Your brain is constantly watching you, constantly recording your actions, constantly learning what to expect from you. When you abandon discipline, you teach yourself that you cannot be relied upon. But when you honor it, even in the smallest decisions, you teach yourself that you are unstoppable. That lesson becomes a deep part of your identity. And from that identity flows everything, your actions, your results, your future. The hardest part about discipline is not the action itself. It is resisting the inner voice that says, just this once, it won't matter. That voice is the destroyer of futures, the thief of dreams, the saboteur of greatness. Every time you silence it, every time you push forward instead of giving in, you are proving to yourself that nothing can sway you from your mission. This power compounds until discipline is no longer something you force. It is something you embody. It becomes who you are. Discipline also has a hidden gift. It simplifies your life. Most people are overwhelmed because they live in chaos, pulled in every direction by impulses and distractions. Discipline cuts through the noise. It creates clarity. It creates structure. It builds a framework where success is not a question of if, but a matter of when. Discipline takes the infinite complexity of life and reduces it to a simple formula. Do what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. That simplicity is where peace is found. Your discipline will not always be praised. It will not always be noticed. It will not always be appreciated, but it will always be rewarded, not by applause, not by instant results, but by the slow, undeniable transformation of your entire existence. The body you build, the mind you sharpen, the skills you master, the life you elevate. These are the rewards that discipline delivers without fail. You must decide whether to live controlled by temporary feelings or guided by lasting vision. The world will not hand you greatness. It will not give you success out of pity. It will only bend to the will of those who have the discipline to demand more from themselves every single day. And if you become one of those people, there is no force strong enough to keep you from the life you are meant to live. Focus is the sharp edge that cuts through distractions, and opens the path to achievement. Without focus, energy is scattered, effort is wasted, and dreams remain blurred. With focus, even limited resources become powerful, and obstacles that once looked immovable begin to crumble. Focus is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters with complete intensity. It is the discipline of attention, the refusal to allow noise to dictate the direction of your life. Every day, the world will try to steal your focus. Notifications, opinions, entertainment, and endless temptations are designed to pull you away from what truly matters. If you allow your attention to be controlled by external forces, you will always live in reaction, never in creation. But when you take control of your focus, you take control of your destiny. The ability to direct your attention, to ignore what is meaningless, and to commit to what is essential. That is the difference between those who drift and those who rise. Focus is the bridge between thought and action. Ideas are plentiful, but without focus, they dissolve into nothingness. Dreams inspire, but without focus, they remain fantasies. Focus turns visions into reality because it channels your energy into concentrated effort. A distracted mind can work hard yet achieve little, while a focused mind can accomplish in 1 hour what a scattered one cannot achieve in days. This is why protecting your focus is protecting your future. Focus also shapes identity. What you give your attention to consistently becomes who you are. If you focus on problems, you will feel powerless. If you focus on distractions, you will become restless. But if you focus on growth, mastery, and purpose, you will transform into someone unrecognizable to your former self. Your life is always moving in the direction of your strongest focus. This is why you must guard it with everything you have. Focus thrives in clarity. You cannot focus deeply on what is vague. When you define your priorities, you silence confusion. When you know exactly what matters most, the unimportant begins to lose its grip on you. This clarity becomes a compass that keeps you aligned, no matter how many distractions surround you. Without it, focus will scatter. With it, focus becomes unstoppable. The strength of your focus is also the strength of your will. Every time you refuse to be pulled off course, you build a stronger mind. Every time you choose what matters over what is easy, you strengthen your ability to endure. This is how focus and resilience are connected. Focus keeps you locked on the target, and resilience keeps you moving forward even when it feels impossible. Together, they create a force that nothing external can overcome. You will be tempted to divide your attention, to chase too many things at once, to spread yourself thin in the pursuit of everything. But greatness has never come from being everywhere. It has always come from being fully present in the one thing that matters most in each moment. Focused energy is unstoppable energy. And when you learn to master it, you gain the power to accomplish what once felt unreachable. Your future is hidden in your ability to focus today. Energy is the fuel that powers every action, thought, and decision. Without it, even the most disciplined plan collapses. With it, clarity sharpens, momentum builds, and possibilities expand. Success is not only about working harder, but about protecting and multiplying the energy that drives you. The way you use your body, the way you nourish your mind, the way you manage your rest and movement, these choices determine whether your energy works against you or for you. Most people drain their energy by living reactively. They wake up already tired, flood their minds with noise, feed their bodies with what slows them down, and then wonder why they cannot stay consistent. But energy is not an accident. It is built. The way you treat your body is not separate from your success. It is the foundation of it. A sharp mind cannot exist in a neglected body. A strong will cannot thrive in constant exhaustion. The more you guard your energy, the more power you have to pour into your vision. Energy is also emotional. Your thoughts, your environment, and your choices of who you spend time with all feed or drain your inner state. Negative voices, endless complaints, toxic influences, they are not harmless. They are robbers of energy. Every time you allow them space in your life, you hand over the fuel that should be reserved for your growth. Protecting your energy means filtering what you allow in, choosing what elevates, and cutting out what weakens. The way you think is one of the greatest sources of energy or exhaustion. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and regret drain your strength before you even take action. But thoughts of courage, gratitude, and purpose generate energy, even in difficulty. This is why mindset is more than just positive thinking. It is energy management. Every perspective you choose either recharges you or drains you. When you anchor yourself in purpose, when you remind yourself why you are doing this, energy begins to rise even in the face of fatigue. Your energy is multiplied through habits of care, movement that strengthens you, rest that restores you, food that fuels you, and practices that quiet your mind. These are not luxuries, they are necessities. High energy is not luck. It is the result of alignment between body, mind, and spirit. When you respect this alignment, you find yourself capable of enduring longer, performing better, and staying focused when others collapse under pressure. Energy also demands renewal. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of imbalance. Even the most powerful engines require maintenance. The same is true for you. There must be moments of stillness, recovery, and restoration so that your energy can be rebuilt stronger than before. The world tells you to grind without stopping, but true mastery understands that rest is not quitting, it is fueling. The life you desire will not be built by force alone. It will be built by the quality of energy you bring to each day. If your energy is low, your results will always be limited. But when your energy is high, your consistency strengthens, your focus sharpens, and your discipline deepens. Guard your energy, build it with intention, and watch how every goal that once felt heavy begins to move within your reach.